It's good to be here tonight together. Thank you so much for coming. And I want to thank you on behalf of the two sponsoring organizations, MLink, which is Multi-Faith Leaders in Community, and Stanislaus County Interfaith Council. I am Michael Schiffelbein. I'm a member of both of these organizations, and I'm the senior pastor at College Avenue United Church of Christ in Modesto. Get as close as you can so you can hear. So we're gathering on the rare occasion when there is an overlap of Passover, Ramadan, and Easter. Very rare. And so this is a spiritually powerful moment for three faith traditions, for Jews and for Muslims and Christians who want tonight to share some stories that can uplift our whole community, coming from their own traditions, our own traditions. And it's also an important time to come together because what is going on in our world as war is waged on Ukraine. It's important for all people, and people of all spiritual traditions to come together and to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and to speak on behalf of peace and to speak on behalf of justice and to make commitments to helping those who are victims of this war. And so I really appreciate your being here. It's a wonderful occasion to be back in person. For a lot of us, we're beginning to do this, and so it feels especially vibrant tonight. And we have about 13 or 14 speakers. I'm going to just introduce each one briefly and invite them to share for less than 2 minutes. And we'll start with Pastor Lynn Crace from Emmanuel Lutheran Church.
Well, I am Pastor Lynn Crace from Emmanuel Lutheran Church over in College and Stockton, and it's just a pleasure to be here tonight in person with all of you, gathered as an interfaith community. So a warm welcome to all of you. I'm so grateful for your being here tonight. We were asked to share an Easter memory or Easter story, a story that had to do with our tradition. And so for me, of course, that would be Easter. And so I thought about, well, there's three things really that stand out for me when I think about Easter memories as a child, as a parent, and also as a pastor. And those three things are, first of all, church. And it was always sunrise church when I was a kid. And it was always the one day of the year where it was okay to get up before dawn, because there was always the promise of the Easter bunny after church if we were good in church. And so then we would gather as a family for that and celebrate the empty tomb, that wonderful old story. And then we go to have our Easter egg hunt with our family, friends, and neighbors. And it was always a competition. I'm not a very competitive person, but with my cousins, that was another story. And so it was who would get the egg, or the bunny actually when we were kids, who would get the bunny with the money in it. And I never did, honestly. And then the third thing was all the wonderful meals that we shared as families and friends and neighbors on that day, on Easter Day as well. Wonderful memories that I keep in my heart with people that are still with me. And the thing I think about that really resonates on all three things is the amount of joy that it brought to me and to my family. And I think that's one thing that the world right now is so good at taking away our joy. There are lots of joy robbers out there, and we've got a big one going on right now in Ukraine. And so it's more important than ever to look for joy, to appreciate joy. Even in the middle of hard things, joy can be found. And so I would encourage you to share your stories about joy, even in the midst of trouble. Something can be found that will spark that sense of hope within all of us. So again, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm so glad you're here. And I guess the next speaker will.
Next is Syed Sharaf Amri from the Islamic Center.
Syed Sharif Amri from the Islamic Center, Modesto. Okay, Syed. Well, I talked with you on Zoom the other day, so.
Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Syed Sharaf Amiri. I'm glad that I'm with everyone here and it's a pleasure to be around you. Last year on August 15, we got out of Afghanistan due to the war, the Taliban takeover, and we came to United States. And my in-laws were living in Modesto city, so we end up here. And I'm very glad. I plan to go somewhere else, but this city is very special to me now. So in Afghanistan, as a Muslim country, we have radicals and many other things. We never had a chance to meet with different religions, hear their story, what's going on. We know about religions, the prophets, that they are cited in Holy Quran, but we never get a chance to talk to them, to share ideas. So it's a pleasure. And today I want to talk about the holy month of Ramadan, which is now. It's the 9th month of Islamic calendar year. And during Ramadan, Muslims fasting from Sahar, which is around 4:30 morning, till 7:30 or sunset. And during Ramazan, we don't drink, eat, and we are not supposed to perform any sexual activities. When I talk about sexual activities, it means what our wife, no one else. So when I heard about Easter and other holidays, I found it interesting to share about Ramazan, to know each other. The people know about our traditions. So during Ramazan, this is one of our biggest festival. After fasting for a month, at the end of Ramazan, there is 3-day holiday in Islamic countries. And why Ramazan is very special for Muslims? Because in this month, the Holy Quran emerged, and the first verses was through Gabriel. It came to Prophet Muhammad. And also in this month, there is after 30 days, during the 20 to 30 days, there is a special night which is called Laylatul Qadr. What it means is the destiny night or the power night, that in this, nobody know which day or night of those from 20 to 30 it is, but if you do your prayers, it counts as thousands month. So this is the specialty about this month. And again, because the time is short, maybe other times we will speak more about Ramazan. I am very happy to be here in Modesto and with such a nice community. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks, Syed. And next is Rabbi Shalom Bogner from Congregation Beth Shalom.
Hi, everyone. If I shout, can you hear me? No.
Yes.
I think it's probably easier if I shout. But in any event, I'll shout and use the mic. I can't think of Passover without immediately thinking of the word generations. My grandfather leading the Seder, the main ritual of the holiday. My grandmother spending many days preparing the food, and then becoming old enough to not only be able to help them, but to want to help them. To want to help my grandmother learn to make these dishes, and to help my grandfather lead the Seder. And and particularly sitting around the table with all of these generations, including my stepfather, who is a Holocaust survivor. I don't think he literally knew what the words of the Haggadah, the words of the Passover Seder meant, but he read each one carefully and with great excitement at this celebration of liberation. That's really what Passover is. It's not only the birthday of the Jewish people and the day of our freedom, but it's the day of telling our people's story. So it makes sense to take a few moments here to tell these stories. And what it was like, in addition to everything I've described, when my own kids became part of the Seder, and to see 3 or 4 generations and literally seeing Passover being passed down. And the way that we pass it down is through asking questions and singing songs and eating foods, all of which help us tell the story. 2 other quick stories about Passover. My first time ever in Israel when I was 6 was Passover. And while I think some of those details were lost to me, I was only 6 years old, just that experience of being in this holy city where so much of our history happened, I remember meant a great deal to me. And the last story I want to share was something that happened about 2.5 months ago. I was reading in an Israeli newspaper that there was concerns about what would happen if for the first time in 30 years, Ramadan and Easter and Passover all overlapped. For those not paying attention, there have been some tensions in the Middle East. And the question that came to me is there some way to see this not just as a challenge, but as a blessing? And immediately what came to mind was this. I wasn't sure exactly what and where and who, but what would it be like for a number of us to come together, not in a moment of tension, but truly in a moment of adding positive energy into the world at this time that all 3 of the Abrahamic faiths are observing such significant moments of renewal and rebirth. So thank you for being a part of this story and being here with us together.
And next is Richard Navarro from Modesto Sister Cities International.
I brought a couple of notes. That way I can keep it to 2 minutes. Otherwise, my wife said, you're going to go on and on. So first of all, I would like to thank Pastor Lynn for inviting me and giving me an opportunity as a member of Modesto Sister Cities International to speak to this group. You know, I think I would also like to introduce Steve Altman, who's a board member of MSCI, and his wife Solange, who's also chairing a fundraiser for Borscht, a meal for funds to send to Ukraine and Melnitsky. Also, Sergei Samborsky, who's the past VP. He's the king of Ukraine. I'm only the spot holder for vice president, but I want to thank each and every one of you. During this time since the war broke out, I've really doubted humanity, but all of you instill some hope. You are the light for me. I'm so appreciative that you're showing solidarity coming from all different faiths for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. Like I said, I'm a member of MSCI. This was founded after World War II. And if we can get together such as we have today, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who started Sister Cities, with the whole idea that if we sat down and we ate a meal, had an opportunity to talk and get to know that person that we may not know, there would be peace. And so MSCI thrives to build those relationships with all different sister cities that we have across the country and the world. I have a hero, and that hero went to Ukraine. He went when it was still an Iron Curtain. And he went with the possibility of being arrested, but he wanted to start a sister city. That hero is Gene Paulsgrove. I don't know if any of you know him. You know, when we're afraid of taking that step, he's my example. And he's the one who brings my blood pressure down, because when this war started, you know, it really got me angry. And Solange and I think we cried over the phone thinking on how we can use this energy that we have of anger and despair to use it in a positive way. So Solange is doing a wonderful dinner for us and being productive. One of the things that I remember during my visits with Sergei to Khmelnytsky is that I found out that in Khmelnytsky they were actually, during Soviet times, had a missile pointing towards New York from Khmelnytsky, and we were able to 30 missiles. I didn't want to exaggerate, but 30 missiles, and it was Ukraine that decided to decommission those, and we were able to use one of them to form a monument dedicated to peace between the Brotherhood of Modesto and Khmelnytsky. We also got a chance to visit the veterans, Ukrainian veterans. And you know, they were on the opposite side of the war for us. But one of the things that I felt is when we showed up, they were very welcoming. And one of the things that I adore, that those moments, those special moments with those veterans, they showed us so much love. But they also, several commented that they love Americans because of our attitude. We have that positive attitude, and I'm seeing it right here, that positive attitude that we can do, and we will do. And the Ukrainians are trying to emulate that, and they are looking west as opposed to just the Soviet Union and their past. So I think it's a great moment here. I will take these memories and photographs and I will send them to Khmelnytsky so they can see how Modesto is supporting their cause. At this point in time, I would like to invite my dear friend and past VP, Sergei Samborsky, to share some thoughts. Thank you.
Well, let's see. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Good evening. Bonsoir. Вечер добрый. Buenas tardes. This is us. This is Ukraine. We always accept and embrace everybody. I grew up in the sister city of Khmelnytsky, and downtown area was populated up to 60% by Jewish people, and we always lived with them in peace. Yes, the Russians were trying to convince us that we were the ones who organized pogroms and other things, but my grandparents were hiding 5 Jewish people in their cellar during World War II. So you understand, we cannot trust Russians anymore. Sorry, but that's how it is now. The whole world, everybody can see it. When I went to the University of Kiev, I shared the room with 3 Afghan men, and we became friends, and they taught me to cook their beautiful rice with mutton, and I taught them how to cook borscht and many other things. We always were friends. They taught me their traditional Afghani dances. They learned ours, so we always lived with everybody in peace because we never invaded anybody. We never had to even think about such things. So pleasant memories of Easter. Well, when I was baptized close to Easter, but in secret because religion was outlawed in the Soviet Union. Officially it was, somewhere, maybe 1 or 2 cathedrals opened for big holidays, but nobody would go there, being afraid to lose a job, a position, and something else. So I was baptized in secret just before Easter by a priest who just dipped me in the cold water at our home, so we couldn't go anywhere. And the priest was dressed up as a plumber, not to be seen as a priest. And of course, around this time, we would always sit down with grandma and grandpa and all the friends and kids around, and we would decorate famous Ukrainian Easter eggs, pisanki. And so it never dawned on me that it would be something unusual. So when I came over here, and I was approached by several people, and my dear wife supported me in this effort, and we taught literally hundreds of people how to do it at our home. And then I was invited to teach the Easter decorating class at MGC as well several semesters. So this is about Easter. Well, I spoke with my 84-year-old aunt Taisia yesterday. She is living with the rest of the family from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, at my house, at our house with my wife in Western Ukraine, where it's much, much safer.
Hi, hello, So, Pastor Lynn, your speech really touched me. I wasn't going to talk about myself, but the joy, you mentioned joy. So when I was young, my country, Cambodia, was overtaken by communists. So my generation was taken away from our parents to a they call children mobility, so that way we could be re-educated and free of our parents' influence. So I was a very quick, good worker. So we were working out in the field, if you don't go to work, even if you're sick, you would be starved, you would be beaten. So I would often get starved, and so one night we were sleeping out in the open, and I saw the star. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have to be the bright star. I could be like a very dim star, but it's still up there in the sky. So I found from that moment on, I feel like this immense peace, like a joy in my heart. So from then on, I thought, I'm the dim star. I could do it. This year, April 13, was our Cambodian New Year, and we celebrated over the weekends. So most Southeast Asian countries celebrate New Year's on April 13. So for our New Year's, we have 3 days, Laos, Thai, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Maldives, and a few other countries celebrate that. So this year, the guardian angel for our year of the tiger is named Karani Tevi. And what she will bring is that she promised to bring peace, and she's a vegetarian this year. She eats bean and sesame. So let's hope, it's usually indicative of like whatever the guardian angels eats is usually indicative of whether it's war or famine. Like one of the year 2004, the angel eats blood, so that so usually it's indicative of that. So I know I have to keep under 2 minutes, so I'm going to give the blessing, the Buddhist Cambodian blessing. So in Buddhist, we usually chant 4 blessing, but I'm going to the high priest can add the 5th one. I'm not the high priest, but I'm going to bless you anyway. So we said, Ayu Wana Sokapula Padikpana, meaning I wish you longevity, peace and happiness, status, good health, wisdom, and wisdom to overcome all obstacles. With that, thank you.
And I'd like to welcome our Honorable Mayor, Suze Wallen, to come up and say a few words to us.
And I've invited our fellow council member, Tony Madrigal, to join me. I have a few brief remarks. I welcome all of you here this evening. I truly believe Modesto is a city of everyone. This gathering here today of the faithful from different religions and spiritualities is proof positive of the fact. We gather here together because we know that although how we pray, our places of worship, or who we say our prayers to may be called different things, I believe we are all praying for the same thing: peace. Peace in our hearts, peace in our lives and within our families, and peace in this world. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. There is terrible human suffering happening today in Ukraine. The tragic images on our televisions and in our newspapers fills me with sadness. Our brothers and sisters on the other side of the world are celebrating Easter, Passover, and Ramadan in the rubble of what used to be their homes. But because of their faith, and in the face of indescribable evil, they celebrate. For some of us here, we show thanks to our Lord by giving up comforts or fasting to share in the sacrifice that our Lord made for us. The Quran tells us that Allah never changes the condition of people unless they strive to change themselves. These sacrifices remind us of what is truly important, allow us to beg forgiveness for our transgressions, and commit ourselves to change and be better people. There is also human suffering happening right here in this park. Although we cannot stop the tanks and bombs in Ukraine, we can commit ourselves to do better right here in Modesto, because if anyone saved a life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. Let us today commit ourselves to be better and do better. Farewell, be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, and live in peace.
Thank you, Sue. And Jeff Woods, Pastor Jeff Woods from First Christian Church in Turlock.
Good evening. As a follower of Jesus Christ, this gathering here is particularly meaningful for me on this Easter Monday, because I'm gathering together with people that I have come from different backgrounds, who I have come to appreciate, to respect, to admire, and to love. People I didn't know before, but I have had the privilege of getting to know them. We've also come to lift up the people of Ukraine in their terrible suffering at this time. I say this because Jesus Christ came as the Prince of Peace. He came to establish peace, and because we in the Christian church believe that in his suffering, in his death, in his burial and resurrection, which we've been remembering and celebrating this past week, he broke down the barriers between us and God and between us and one another. Now, I realize that some people might find that strange, because many people who celebrate Easter have not always been known as people of peace, to our own shame. But Jesus called us to be those of us who would follow him, to love our enemies, to pray for those who persecute us, even to lay down our lives for others as he laid down his life for us. This evening we're gathered not because we all believe the same thing, nor are we gathered because we agree on everything. We're gathered because we have agreed and committed ourselves to work together to tear down the walls that divide us in our increasingly polarized world. What better time to do that than this convergence among the three Abrahamic religious traditions, and that is not to exclude the other traditions that also exist. Now, reflecting on how all of this reflects to the situation in Ukraine, I'm heartened by the example of a group of 40 Ukrainian women and children who have, in the past 2 months, found refuge in Germany, of all places, in a castle rented by a church from the United States for 3 years so that the people of Ukraine who are refugees and find themselves there can have a permanent place to stay for at least 3 years. A friend of mine who's been working for the past 8 years in Potsdam. Potsdam was the Stasi headquarters in East Germany where Putin learned his craft and lived for a long time. She shared with me 2 weeks ago that these Ukrainian refugee women and their children, many of whom are followers of Christ, maybe secret, maybe openly, they've lost everything, and their husbands, their fathers, their brothers, and their sons have stayed behind to defend their country against unconscionable aggression. But they responded, she said, in a way that was absolutely amazing. Instead of being bitter, instead of being consumed with their own needs, which are tremendous, these women were saying this: since God has brought us here, God must have something for us to do here. And so for the past 2 months, they have been actively looking for ways, even in the midst of their own suffering, to reach out and care for others whose languages, cultures, customs, and religions are different from theirs, thereby breaking down the walls. All of this is what I celebrate as the Easter spirit I see going on, and I celebrate it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to invite Reverend Jeremiah Williams to come and speak from Revival Center United Pentecostal Church in Modesto.
First and foremost, I think it's wonderful that all of you have come out here today in solidarity and strength, and also praying to your God, if not the God, that there is a change in the Ukraine. We actually have United Pentecostal Church Revival Center. We actually have 5 churches in Ukraine, and they are doing well. They have escaped the trauma and the turmoil and the issues that have plagued that entire area, and we're thankful. But we also stand here in prayer for all of them. Not that we are going to do a prayer, but I do have a poem that I wrote, and this is the second time I have read this poem. It's called Love and Unity. We stand together because we are one. We cry together because we are one. We sing songs together because we are one. We laugh together because we are one. We enlighten our community together because we are one. We are not offended because we are one. We forgive together because we are one. We stand for one another because we are one. We create together because we are one. We eat together because we are one. We have no color, for we are one. We are on one earth because we are one. We rise to the occasion because we are one. We raise our children together because we are one. We are many nations, but we are one. We are many opinions, but we are one. We have no enemies because we are one. We have no faults because we are one. We have good days and bad days. We are one. We are the sunlight and the moon that glows because we are one. We are the midnight and the morning because we are one. We are black, and we are white, and we are brown, and we are Asian, and we are Hispanic. We are short, we are tall, we are large, we are small. We are wise, we are unwise. We have stumbled, and we have fallen. We have risen, we have conquered, because we are one. We are a people who love over hate because we have won.
I'd like to invite Melissa Santos from Congressman Josh Harder's office to say a word.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Santos. I'm a district representative for Congressman Josh Harder, and it's such an honor to be here tonight to commemorate the special occasion that is the crossover, the overlap between Easter, Ramadan, and Passover. Congressman Harder couldn't be here tonight, but he was extremely proud to learn that his community was going to be coming together tonight, of different faiths, different communities, all coming together tonight for this special occasion. Congressman Harder stands in solidarity with our multi-faith community, with Ukraine, and with everyone affected. I'd like to give a special thank you to MLink for bringing us together, for spearheading this gathering. I hope that we all leave with so much peace in our hearts, and we continue this leadership and this positive energy throughout. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak.
Thank you, Melissa. And Deacon Jim Johnson from Our Lady of Fatima Church and Diocese of Stockton.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. When I think of our interfaith group, I think about Easter. I think of an experience that my wife and I had several years ago. We travel a lot, especially since I retired. We've traveled in this country and in Europe some. And one time we love to visit churches, so we see a church and we got to go see what it looks like inside, and we see the construction and the arts and so on. So this one time I remember particularly, we stopped at this church and it said St. Mark's or something, who knows what denomination that was. I was curious, I wonder if this is a Catholic church or a Lutheran church or Episcopal church. What is this? And so the door was open, so we went in, and right away I could tell this was a Catholic church. Because what about the cross? The cross was a crucifix. It had the figure of Jesus on it, whereas in the Protestant churches do not have the cross on the crucifix. They just have the cross. So it reminds me of some slight differences we have, although it's the same cross, the same Jesus, the same God that we all worship. And so that made me think about our celebration of Easter. In our church, we teach that Easter, that we don't have Easter without the cross. The cross is necessary to have Easter. So our church, we celebrate Easter for a whole week. We start with Palm Sunday, with people thinking Jesus is wonderful, and then a few days later we celebrate Good Friday, where they wanted to kill him. So that's the trend that we go through in our church for what we call Holy Week. And so as we think about Easter and we think about Good Friday, I thought about the Ukrainian people right now. The Ukrainian people are suffering their own Good Friday right now. They are suffering at the hands of other people, but they are suffering a Good Friday. And our prayer for them is that as we celebrate Easter, that they have Easter, that their country arises again, as Jesus did from the dead. Thank you.
So now if we could just observe a moment of silence, standing in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, and also in our hearts committing ourselves to some kind of action on behalf of the people in Ukraine. And you'll get some opportunities. I think Lynn and Rabbi Shalom will suggest some opportunities for us. But let's take one moment.
I want to take my moment to just appreciate how many people are here. This would be an incredible moment if there were 10 of us. There are many dozens of people here standing together to observe this powerful moment of Easter, Passover, Ramadan, and Cambodian New Year, and the importance of standing with Ukraine. There are two things I ask everyone to do. One is, don't leave without at least meeting one person. And bonus, if it can be someone not from your faith or your community, but truly someone you don't yet know. Ask a question. Maybe learn a little bit more about a faith that's not your own. But the second thing, as Pastor Michael just said, there's so much that not only we can do, there's so much we have to do to prevent the continued suffering from this invasion in Ukraine. For those who want to make a cash donation that's going to go to the Red Cross, Pastor Lynn is going to collect funds to do that. For those who'd like to do their giving online, I have a sheet here with almost 18 organizations ranging from humanitarian aid, faith-based aid such as Catholic Relief or the Jewish Joint Distribution Committee. But there may be people who wish to donate directly to Ukrainian organizations. So on this list is literally an opportunity to support the Ukrainian armed forces. or to make sure that protective gear is in the hands of those protecting Ukraine. I have 36 copies of this. There's almost probably more than 100 people here. So if you don't get a copy and you're on Facebook, if you go to the M-Link site, all of this information will be listed there. And if that's too difficult, find me afterwards. I will give you my email address and make sure that I get this to you. But the key is not just to take the information, the key is to do something with it. Find an organization, happily to take a picture and post that as well. Find an organization that speaks to the work that you wish to be involved in. But please, it's not enough that we stand here. We need to stand with those that are in the direct line of this horrible invasion and suffering.
Well, that's wonderful, and there's tons of places that we can donate. If you do want to donate cash tonight, it will go through Stanislaus County Interfaith Council. And so if you would like to make out a check, make it out to SCIC, and it'll go through their account. I'm the treasurer of that organization. And then it'll be donated through the Red Cross, or if there's a particular organization you want it donated through, let us know that as well. So again, we'll be doing that, and thank you again so much for being here tonight. It's really a strong showing. I hope this gets posted and blasted all over the place so people all over the country know what we're doing here in Modesto. Thank you.
We can. Solange Altman, if you want to come up and say how we can help with what you're doing.
Yes. Hi, I'm Solange Altman. My husband Steve and I, we hosted Ukrainians a few years ago and developed a really close relationship with them. So when this happened, it really affected us personally, and we just learned this week that my husband's mother's family actually were from Ukraine, not Russia, as we had originally believed. Anyway, I went to Sister Cities and told them we needed to do something more. And it isn't just about giving the money. I think what will mean a lot to the Ukrainians is to show that a community, a group of us have come together to support them. So I came up with the idea of having a Borscht dinner, and Modesto Sister Cities is helping do that. So we are scheduled to have this Borscht dinner fundraiser at Modesto Center Plaza on June 4th. It starts at 5 o'clock. I have tickets if people are interested in buying them. It's $35 for seniors, students, and veterans, $40 for everyone else. Tables of 8 are $500, and we're looking for a gold, silver, and bronze sponsor. The funds that we raise will be matched by the Knights of Columbus, and we're hoping to raise a substantial amount of money. Some of that we hope will go to Melnitsky, our sister city. We are going to have a program. We hope to actually have a connection and live stream with one of the young men that came to be with us 3 years ago. I was an immigration attorney for many years, and I'm retired now, but a fellow immigration attorney is Patrick Kolosinski. Has been spending a lot of time taking supplies and things to Poland. He'll be speaking, and we're hoping that funds will be used also for medical supplies and what they really need. Anyway, please see me if you're interested in tickets, and tickets will also be available through the State Theater if you want to buy them online from them. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Solange. So I want to ask the speakers if you would all come up here and we can have a picture taken of us, of you, and everyone else. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Go with peace.